Good morning, everybody. Good morning. I'll be right back. Gonna grab a coffee. Getting a coffee. I'll be back here in just a second. I'm gonna get some coffee. Sorry about that. Back on here. Back on. Hold on. I'm looking at my YouTube right now, which is weird. I don't know why the stream isn't populating. It's right there. That's weird. Anyways, good morning. Yeah, I don't know why. That's weird. I was looking for my stream on YouTube and I couldn't find it myself, and now I got it. Okay, cool. So yeah, anyways, market is still in a sell move, obviously. If you got two eyes that correctly work, you can see the market's been going down a couple weeks now or so. Couple days, couple weeks, whatever it is, I don't even know. Um, Make this just a tear bigger. There we go. Yeah. So let me zoom into this chart. We'll kind of get started here. So story is as it's been for pretty much, I don't know, we'll put a vertical line on the chart and that'll probably help everybody for visual purposes. So that vertical line on the chart right about there, and maybe even this arrow would be a nice little addition. That looks kind of crappy, but that's fine. Yeah, so right about there, arrows pointing, all that good stuff. That's when the market went into a sell signal, if you will, for simple terms. Sell signal just being algorithms and stuff are shifting in the market to neutral bearish. Now the market's down. I think we're down about 10% from the highs there, pretty much from this sell move, right? So in terms of being long, we're not. When I say we're not, it's more or less there's no one but me in this office, right? So it's really just me. I'm not. And then also all of the other people that follow the S&P 500 system are not. So that would include, banks, institutions, things like that, right? So they're not long biased the market. They're deleveraging the market as we're in this sell move. Um, I haven't really paid attention to which sectors they're rotating out of throughout the sell move, but I'll get to that one of these days and we'll try to figure out which sectors are going into next. But ultimately, the market is in a sell move. Institutions have been selling off equities, and we will all go back long the market when it makes sense to do so. Now, that has nothing to do with short-term trading bounces and stuff like that. We can do that whenever we want. But as far as looking for kind of more momentum, steady, higher lowing, and markets moving in the upwards direction, we're just not going to do that until we go into a buy move or until the VIX and volatility starts to break down. or until VVIX, which is the Institutional Volatility Index, starts to change. That's actually something I can't believe it took me this long to learn. But VVIX, yeah, Institutional Volatility of Volatility. Didn't even know it was a thing until like this past week. So that's something new that well, I already learned it. Didn't take me long. But yeah, I've learned there's volatility of volatility. So I know there's going to be some people on the internet that are going to hate me even more for knowing that. But yeah, so we got volatility of volatility, things that we can look at as well. But it's really until it is important to talk about, I'm not going to go crazy on it. But yeah, so that's cool. That's fun. Um, yeah, so basically what I came to the conclusion was you have volatility of volatility. So institutions, banks, and people that hedge for volatility reasons, basically the smartest of the smart, will look at volatility of volatility. And then volatility breaking out would be the confirmation of the VVIX or early volatility players. Um, and then obviously the reaction then gets printed onto the stock market. So that's been a nice little learning curve for me over the past week or so, understanding basically earlier timing than I already know with what I use on the volatility index. So you guys always kind of hear me talk about, market's gonna volatility is breaking out or volatility is breaking down. Um, Works really well. There's been some nuances where I'm like, it doesn't, But anyways, VVIX is helping clear some of that up, so that's been enjoyable to learn. So you guys will get all that good stuff here probably pretty soon as well. So yeah, um, we'll dive into the market more, I guess. Uh, what am I doing? Yeah, SPY. So yeah, we're just basically looking for downwards movement until stated otherwise. So we're just counter long, right? So basically we're counter long bias traders right now, and we're bearish overall, right? So we'll look for bounces, but our bounces are only to be looked at as counter trend longs. So generally speaking, we just don't overstay our welcome on any sort of long trades that we take in the market for the time being, unless we absolutely think that we have the absolute bottom, then sure we can just hold, right? But so for now, we're basically going to be looking, keeping our mind set in the lower low, lower high fashion until obviously proven otherwise. So yeah, we'll just kind of see how this day goes. Bitcoin hit like 100K down into the 90K areas. I got a bunch of random stuff on here, but not really random. So yeah, we got Bitcoin down to like 100K, right? Down into the 90K levels. So that's pretty much just means that Bitcoin has fallen in October. It's down about 20%. Start of bear market talks. Does bear market happen? Does it continue? I don't know. Don't really care one way or the other. But this is what the analysis did point to. So a couple years back, we had mentioned, cycles and timing and cycle analysis would point to a bull market for at least until October of this year. Well, October 2025. That's happened. If the cycles were legit and continue to repeat, then arguably we would start a bear market in this October. So it's kind of why I was giggling this month, or well past last month, when all I heard was, people talking online about October and altcoin season and all this good jam. And I was just kind of giggling to myself because, yes, if you look at like historical returns, Octobers have been good months. But if you look at cycle timing, then you would realize that the top or potential top of the Bitcoin market would be starting this October, right? So the narrative of October would be completely, well, not necessarily completely, but strong chance the October narrative would be completely demolished because it just so happened that the time cycle lined up this October, right? So, if the time cycle lined up in December, then yeah, we probably would have had an October because we hadn't quite met the end of the timeline there, in my opinion. So, nonetheless, That's it. That's pretty much that. Let's see. Looks like we're gonna have an extremely, extremely busy stream here this morning. I think we're gonna be hitting wow numbers. Man, since it's pretty much just I think I don't even know whatever that might be. It might just be crypto PU. That's pretty much it. I think you're the only guy here. Um, because I have my own stream up on another screen. But we're killing it. We're crushing this morning. Excuse me. There's really no good penny stocks this morning, that I noticed. Well, there could be some smaller price ones that I didn't see because I didn't really look at my biggest gainers list this morning, but based off my kind of volume scanner, whatever, there's really no good penny stock right now. Well, not that there's no good penny stock. There is one, and it's HLLY. That one broke out this morning around whatever price, doesn't I mean 295 or something. So pretty much as long as HLLY remains over 295, then we're at least holding the 4 hour to arguably 30-minute uptrends. So maybe that one gets some love today. But this is typically what happens when we go into legitimate selling operations on the stock market. Not only do you see many of your large cap stocks go down, but then you also see lower performance even in your small cap markets. People like to think that, penny stocks don't have to do with the market, and I used to kind of believe that, and I used to spread that false narrative. But now that I've learned from, my ways, if you will, that is not true. And penny stocks do, they do correlate with the overall markets too because it just really all comes down to liquidity. When we're in sell moves, liquidity is removing itself from the market. It's not easier to trigger buy algorithms and or manipulate markets upwards at that point. So again, harder for penny stocks to kind of pop up when we're going through selling algorithms on the overall markets. So something else to take note on. Hmm. Mhm. 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 Why is this being so goofy? Like, thank you. There it goes. My stream was just being weird this morning. Like wasn't able to get into it and see it. Now it's populating. So yeah, Zoom or not Zoom. Yeah, we'll see. I remember just rambling because there's a lot of thoughts in my mind when you're thinking about streams, also pushing broadcast through Zoom, starting from another website. A lot to take in for a second. And I completely changed my screen setups to new things. So it's been a fun week. You know what? I gotta add something. Oh wait, can I not? Hmm. I might not be able to do that way. Huh. Never mind. I'm just thinking to myself about something regarding streaming. Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to speak kind of quietly. Again, guys, there's not a whole lot to say at this point other than we're just kind of watching the market to the downside until momentum is picked up in a way that makes sense to look for more of a bigger tradable bounce to the upside. So again, it's just that's we're just kind of waiting on a bounce, then a reshort. either continuation down, reshort, etc. Um, I haven't really put too much thought into downside targets for the day, but obviously we have a gap down, so if the market follows the gap and go strategy, we're just going to target 161 for the gap down. If we're not targeting the gap and go 161, we're just arguably be looking at 1 second. I mean, probably either golden pockets of previous day's session, golden pockets of algorithms created from today's pre-market, um, maybe some untested Fibonacci cycles from the pre-market or the current day session. We'll just kind of see how that develops, obviously. If you're looking at, oop, well, that's not what I wanted to do. Going the wrong way. Yeah, so I mean, if we just check out this GP from yesterday, we'll see what's going on with that guy. Mm-mm, mm-mm. Yeah, so I mean, obviously, golden pocket from yesterday's price action is untested. So again, just pretty much at some point in the future, that's gonna get tested because the markets just have to balance themselves effectively. So, basically the way you'd read that is, from yesterday looking into today, the market has basically two options. It can either go here or it's gonna go there, right? So we already know that, right? and actually, maybe I shouldn't say like on the day, but just in general, whether that be today, over a day and a half, 2 days, whatever. That's going to happen. It's not an if, when, and you know, that's just how markets work too when it comes to Fibonacci. I did a big, big deep dive on Fibonacci, not just really in trading terms, but in like actual learning it, you know. And pretty much the conclusion I came to was Fibonacci is the most efficient way of balancing energy, if you will, within the universe. So apply that same sort of logic to the market. Fibonacci is the most effective way to balance markets or balance price action, if you will, if you're to apply the same logic across the board, which markets aren't necessarily apples to apples when you're talking about the universe, right? But yeah, so markets can really either go to 161 or the golden pocket. And that is the same case for every single time frame and candle, right? That's why like a lot of times you'd hear people talk about, oh, I got stopped out, and they're trading 1 minute charts and they're like, oh, your stop's too close, So like if someone buys a candle, right, and they don't put their stop below some significant low or whatever, right? And it's, and your stop is halfway at the halfway point of, this 1 minute candle. Yeah, there's a good chance you're going to get stopped out on the next candle because markets only do one or two things, especially and in the universe realistically and how they balance themselves is the golden ratio, 161, 618, etc. So, that's it. So each candle you see again normally is always going to test that 61.8 level of its previous candle, and then obviously as it breaks up and moves forward, it's going to go straight to the 161 because that's how energy in the universe evenly and most efficiently distributes itself. And then you apply that same logic to the market, and there you have it. So it's not that you can't visually see some of that without a fib, but ultimately, that's a good way of thinking about it. That it's the most efficient way to balance energy in the universe, then apply that logic to a stock chart, etc., right? And if you apply some of Newton's laws, energy can't be destroyed, it can only be transferred, right? So we'll just think of the price action of the market as just straight up pure energy, right? And we'll just call this electricity, if you will, right? It's just straight up energy. And the energy is really coming from supply and demand of traders, if you will. So we're just basically putting energy into the market. And the energy that we put into the market from yesterday moving into today, that energy has yet to balance itself properly to the golden pocket and or I should say nor, so it has yet to balance energy to the golden pocket or extend its energy to the 161. Um, so Yeah. Trading it's a little bit different, but as far as like energy balances and like universe and sunflowers and galaxies and whatnot and like that spiral formation you see, right? It just basically goes on to say energy can't be destroyed. It can only be transferred, and it's only transferred in one of two ways, which is either basically like forwards or backwards in a way. Backwards would be pulling back would be 61A, right? Moving forward, energy being expulsion forward would be 161, right? Energy moving forward, extending forward would be 161. So energy in the universe works in two ways. It's either balancing itself backwards, which you can also think of as karma in a way, or it's moving forward, right? Um, so, same thing in the universe. Energy either is moving forward, back, can't be destroyed, only transferred, and that energy being transferred generally follows the Fibonacci sequence, which is the most efficient and way to balance energy within the universe, right? So, then you just take that logic, apply it to the market, and it's, same thing in a way. So that being said, looking at the past day, you got that, you got that. We have a gap down today. So once the market opens, we can measure the gap down, see where the 61.8's at, see where the golden pockets are at. And then along the way, we'll just throw a bunch of random volume weighted average prices to track the immediate price action. Then we'll read a little bit of the advancing declining issues to see how broad or how big the momentum is one way or the other. And then we'll look at the volatility index and just make sure that the volatility they're favoring or not favoring whatever we're trying to do. The volatility index should not, I can't see, I mean, it's not necessarily true, but the likelihood that the volatility index breaks down into a downtrend, giving us the full-blown signal to go long, probably not going to happen just based off the way the VIX looks. And the market would have to have an extremely strong day for that to happen. So I'm not saying it can't, but I think we're a little far off from that scenario. Now let's see, that would be, let's go to, let me check SPY real quick. Hopefully that's all making sense to like the two of you here. I know we're going to be changing tons of lives with this information, so hope that makes sense. Um, so yeah, that's 261, 261, 261 backtrack. Yeah, could be back in the ones. 261 to 16. Gotcha, gotcha. And then go to the go. Huh. Oh man. All right, well, oh boy, market is there. Oh snap! Talk about talk about a yawn. Um, Market is getting close to open. Probably what do you got? 3 minutes or so. Mm. Mm. Dun, 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 dun. What is up, Rico? Good morning to you, sir. We've covered a lot of randomness this morning, but I'm sure you probably already know everything, so we're good to go. What time is it? 6:29. Market about to open. We'll probably look to backtrack this 30-minute volume weighted average price there too. So I think we might still see a little bit of a counter long pop to start this day. Alright, so initially out of the gates, a small little pullback. And so far, we definitely have a weak open. Can't even retrace 30-minute VWAPs for the time being. But again, we're looking at Netflix, Tesla, all that good jam. Volume of the market's very weak this morning. Advancing declining issues are on the negative side, still pretty weak there. All right, let's run our gap down fib here. So arguably there's a little bit lower for the market to go to get that 161 target for the SPY. Or sorry, SPX. My apologies, said that incorrectly. So it depends if we're going to get some continuation down here or not, but we do. It just again, if we start selling off the Tesla Magnificent Seven, then which we do got some red on that right now. If that continues to stay red, there's a good chance we'll see SPY and whatnot continue to kind of flow down here. But just got to watch the advancing declining issues kind of closely there. All right, market still a little, I mean, nothing crazy, a little low there. Again, SPX down to about 6,675.21, arguably on deck. Obviously, if the market continues going down, that would make sense. It would go to there. No guarantees. Obviously, there's never a guarantee, but for the moment, the VIX is still holding up. The advancing declining issues of our mega cap stocks are not really green. I mean, the S&P issues are not super green. The advancing declining issues on the New York Stock Exchange, not green. And the volume of the market is predominantly on the sell side right now. Now, those things can change. I'm just saying that's visually speaking, that's where we're at right now. Um, the tick charts, on the other hand, I'm just basically put it all together myself. I tried looking at this stuff in the past and it just never made sense to me back then, but now it kind of does, so that's kind of fun. But yeah, the tick charts, it's not overbought, it's not oversold. You know what I mean? We would still need both tick and tick C to go lower before we would get into like even like dip buy location, for that. So I don't see it as a buying opportunity right now. Just unless something random happens, but based off how the market's looking, I mean, we're not we're not looking for the bounce just yet, right? So what's that mean? Probably just still continue down for the moment. We're getting ever closer to our gap down destination. I'll zoom in a little bit there. Was that a straight up, is that an algo wick that I didn't even notice? Damn. Okay. They got all sorts of stuff going on today. All right, so looks like the advancing declining issues on the NASDAQ kind of holding, spy popping. Okay. All right. I would say this is not by any means an aggressive sell-off this morning just yet. Like we really don't have a ton of participation selling the market down. There's our 161 target now complete for our gap down. So we effectively completed today's overnight gap and go trade to the 161. Job well done, everyone. Job well done. Let's just get a round of applause going. A little hand clap. Yay, cool. Rock on, dudes. But we also notice that the S&P issues are increasing. They're going up. The FANG Magnificent Seven, they're kind of holding. And the advancing declining issues on the NASDAQ aren't really going down for the time being. So, I mean, it's kind of interesting. Granted, we're not in a super bullish market though, obviously, because market's still downsided. Yeah, I do still use standard deviation, but I use it just mainly for overbought, oversold markets now. That's mainly how I use that these days. I'd say we got the S&P issues are going up right now. We don't the New York Stock Exchange isn't really selling off, and the Magnificent Seven aren't really selling off either. So it's like I'm not even sold on this like move to the downside in a way that like makes me think we're just gonna sell off for forever. We don't have a ton of selling in the market. Granted, we don't have a ton of bullish activity by any means either. So it's just I mean, it's still predominantly bearish, but not a ton of selling for the moment. Behind the scenes, that is. Now, we did just start printing some red on some of the Fang there, so that's a little bit more selling pressure we're starting to see there on some of the Fang. Volume is still leaving the market. Under the daily 50 SMA, yeah, I didn't know. Yeah, so we're right. Yeah, we just broke the daily 50 SMA. So, yeah, so in real time, algorithms are starting to read that and say, oh, whoa, we just broke the daily 50 SMA. You know what I mean? So, um, that is good. That also means there's probably going to be a back test to it here. So, pretty much we just broke down the daily 50 SMA. So, obviously, you can assume if we're not just breaking down and going, it's one of the first things algorithms would look to do is go back and test that. Just like that. So there would be the backtest of that daily 50 SMA right as we snapped it for the first moment. That's typically how algorithms and HFTs operate and think. Um, yeah. Now we are almost down to, no, not quite. Never mind. I thought we were, but we're not. I mean, it's not like I mean, like I was saying, we don't have extreme selling across the board in the market, but we just don't have enough to really solidify like a super big bounce right now. No, I mean, we do have S&P issues going up, but it's the FANG that are still kind of lackluster and slow. If the FANG start to pick up, then we can see this bounce really like turn into something. But until the FANG pick up, we're still, I mean, it's still not like a mega bounce, if you will. Say Magnificent Seven still kind of trickling down on the day. The volume for the day still kind of slow grind, kind of chop down. Good morning. Good morning. How is everyone doing? The advancing declining issues of the New York Stock Exchange creeping up there. So again, it's just one of those situations you don't have all markets working in confluence, but big drop there from the market. Well, I call it big, but pretty decent. And that's what like we just don't quite have all the markets working in confluence with one another right now. Again, we don't really even have a signal from the VIX too, where it's like giving us the signal just to just go screaming long either. I mean, again, if we kind of bring up this view, you can kind of see the only thing that's really preventing the market, I would say, from like further selling off is just the fact that the S&P issues have been going up today, right? Rising. Um, and the advancing declining issues on the market have been rising, but the FANG, the major market cap stocks, not really doing anything for us. And really, people are not truly buying long equities this morning if you're looking at the volume. So we just don't have all those metrics lining up in a way that's going to create a screaming long or bounce for the moment. I mean, that's not entirely true, but it's like if you want a really good bounce, we would want to see the FANG stocks doing or magnificent stocks doing good, which they're kind of slow and lackluster right now. So we want to start seeing those pick up, and that will help further this bounce. We haven't even tested, or have we, the 1 minute volume weighted average price for the day. So we should definitely go. I assume we go up and get the 1 minute volume weighted average price, which is obviously just up there, that little yellow line right about there. That would make sense. Bitcoin's kind of bouncing there. Cool. Oh, little scum. Scummy. Look at that. They just shy it. I love when they do that. All we're really doing so far is holding the volume weighted average price of today's below a day. So for us to kind of snap the market, we're going to have to get below that guy. See, this is what I was talking about is you don't have everything working at once. And whenever the Magnificent Seven stocks basically are not doing well, it's really hard to see the markets go up efficiently. Even if you see advancing declining issues on the New York Stock Exchange or the market, it's like if those aren't performing, usually the market just is not doing super good. So we're gonna need a pickup from there. Oh, that's interesting. A bunch of stocks all start hitting this. Ooh, there's a missed trade. Dang it. Yeah, that would have been pretty decent. That one's missed. So now I'm just kind of flipping through some of these penny stocks or whatever else is popping up, see if there is an opportunity somewhere. Looks like healthcare is up, so they might be rotating into healthcare too. If the Fang stocks bottom, we're gonna have a big bounce. Like that's what I mean. Is like it depends, right? Because the Nasdaq's move, the New York Stock Exchange advancing declining issues, like those are moving decent. S&P issues moving decent. It's the Fang stocks. If those actually got picked up, like we could actually bounce the market pretty decent today. But it's gonna take something to do that, right? So that's the only way I see like this market not going down. Those Magnificent Seven have to pick up, and they just shit the bed again. Well, let's see if we can find a stock to buy today. Kind of would have, that's not great. Again, it's going to be challenging today. Not that there won't be something that moves good. It's just the opportunity is going to be far less today in stocks and penny stock because we're not in a buy move. We're in a kind of a sell move. So the markets are all timid right now. So you have to be extremely selective. KODK would have been decent, but I wasn't prepared for that. HLLY was the one stock that I did kind of pick would be okay, but I didn't buy it. If we could just get the Magnificent Seven to bounce, dude, we could rip this market up. But we kind of need some more help here. It's still moving okay, but we could really throw a good market bounce if we could get the Magnificent Seven to kind of get their ish together this morning. So let's see. The golden pocket on this 5 minute candle is not tested today. So you would just, the energy of the market is not balanced here, right? Not saying we're going there. I'm just saying if obviously we continue up, market would target that area. Hmm. Also, we just hit the 1 minute volume weighted average price for today's trading session. You guys know the rules on that. Whenever you hit the 1 minute volume weighted average price from pretty much start of day, it could always be used as a scalpable, first tag metric. So that would be your first tag metric scalp there. So market moves up into VWAP, red candle, scalpable situation. Now, if we start to clear house over that, that's where the market gets a little more interesting. Debatably. And we're also starting to see some green candles on the Magnificent Seven, that's a good thing to see there. So let's hope the Magnificent Seven aren't lying, and arguably this market could maybe bounce a little bit more. We'll see. But we are running into the 1 minute volume weighted average price. So typically this is kind of a resistance over under, but we're looking at these Magnificent Seven and they're starting to go up. And that's what we want to see if we want this thing to keep going. So that's good. Little continuation candle up. The tick market, the tick C is getting, it's not even overbought. It's only 200. That's not really bad. We're not even, I mean, we're not overbought on any tick there, but yeah, I mean, that's you know what I mean? Like I said, it's all up to these guys here. This is where like when I'm talking, like this is where my eyes are looking right on this guy. Like this is where most of my attention is at this morning, right on those Magnificent Seven. A little bit on the, I mean everything, but it's really these guys. Like that's what I'm looking at, right? If we want this bounce to really shape up and to be something cool, we need these guys to start really working. Now, they're not, but it'd be great if they did start going up because then, because if you think about it, right, you already have the New York Stock Exchange advancing declining issues doing what you need. You already have the S&P issues doing what you need. Now you need the basically the people that control the market to start doing what they're doing, right? The Magnificent Seven, the major market cap players. You need those boys to start picking up, and we could obviously bounce the market. Whether or not that, comes to fruition is always another story, but you know what needs to happen. It's not like you can't see it, right? You can clearly see what needs to happen for the markets to continue this bounce that we're on. You need participation from your major market cap players here, along with continuation on all of these markets that have already gone up, right? Um, the flip side of that is always, well, what if these stopped going up, right? It's like, oh, then all the stuff that was already helping the market go up is not going up anymore. So that's kind of your double-edged sword there. But yeah, that's where my eyes are focused on is those Fang Magnificent Seven players. Again, I can't be like bearish right now because look at the advancing declining issues on the market. Look at the advancing declining issues on the SPY. Look at the price action you're seeing on the market right now with the S&P. It's not like going down, right? And then look at the Magnificent Seven. They're not going down, but they're not really going up. You know what I mean? So it's kind of one of those situations like doesn't really make sense to be bearish in the moment, but we did haven't quite triggered the things that we need to be like just throwing the market into a screaming bounce, you know what I mean? So we're kind of just doing this kind of slow chug along to the upside until arguably those Magnificent Seven wake up and liquidity goes back into those plays. And then again, like we don't have any signals from the VIX. And when I say signals from the VIX, things that I pay attention to. There's always a signal somewhere. I'm not, I again, a lot of my stuff I'll look at it isn't like it has to do with trend change, and I haven't seen there. Not that I haven't seen, I just know it hasn't happened, right? It's just there's no trend change on volatility on VVIX or VIX, right? There's no change there other than they've just kind of like stalled out, topped a little bit. Now they're getting maybe some weakness there, like that's fine, but I don't see a trend change, right? And that's what would really change the dynamic of the market from being uh, risk off to risk on, right? So what we're seeing today is merely just oversold bouncing, right? That's really what we're doing right now. We're just kind of bouncing oversold markets. This is not the market's recovered. This is not any of that. All right. This is just simply markets have oversold a little bit. We're just kind of currently bouncing the market up given the conditions of the equities behind the scenes today. Magnificent Seven kind of waking up a little bit. We're starting to see a little green there. Obviously, market's kind of moving. Now, these are never set in stone. Just because they start moving doesn't mean they continue to move and blah, blah, blah. But, you know, that's always the unknown. But the things that we do know is what has to happen for X to happen, right? So for bounce to continue, we need participation in the market, and we don't have a ton of that today. Um, and not to mention, right, there's metrics to watch. When we're looking at metrics, right, the metrics of the Nasdaq are not, or the metrics of the NYSE are not. They're moving bullishly, but if you're taking it into, a metric, the metric would be we need these things over, 400 to be extremely bullish, right? Same thing with the volume of the market. We need the volume of the market to be like over 300 million to be, money's truly flowing in and buying equities, right? So we don't have those metrics, right? So what's that tell us? It tells us that this is, just oversold bouncing. We're not advancing issues. We're not advancing volume in the bullish manner that's super crazy, but this is currently that oversold bouncing sort of stuff. And for it to become a trending market, you would need significant advancement of issues right now, and we don't have that, right? So I'm personally psychologically seeing today's market as just we're still in a macro bearish environment. We sold the market down today. You see, we started with the sell-off, right? And then we just kind of went through a little bit of a bounce. And that bounce is probably because of, again, some of the issues bouncing, but we're not, we don't have like so much participation that it's just like screaming its head off to be like, buy everything. Which would be the perfect characteristics of, oh, yeah, we're in a negative market. We're into a selling signal. Things are going down. We don't have extreme bullish participation across a bunch of equities, but we do see that the pattern, at least, is that things are bouncing a bit, right? So that's kind of why we stalled the market out there for a second and we've seen it go up. Now we're getting a nice pullback. What time is it? 9. Was there data? I don't even know. I didn't even look at the calendar today. Someone else tell me in the chat there on YouTube or on Zoom if there was some data today. I don't know. But there probably I don't even it doesn't even really matter. Um I mean it does matter, but you know what I mean. So the ticks are oversold. There might be some short-term bounce in there. I don't want you guys to take what I just said. Don't ever pay attention to that when I say tick is this and tick is that. That stuff is way too quick for it to translate through YouTube and you make sense of it. And yeah, just we're not going to worry about that. Um, but yeah, so all that good jam, all that stuff I just expressed would basically be the pattern we're seeing so far today. All right, so we are in a negative market. We're in a neutral to bearish market, right? We just saw the markets bounce, but again, it makes perfect sense. The S&P issues were going up. Some of the Magnificent Seven kind of started. They were late to that. And a lot of the issues on the NASDAQ or New York Stock Exchange were going up in that little portion of the morning. So we kind of bounced the market. But the volume that's coming into the market so far today is not like, hasn't changed the dynamic and the structure of the market, right? So let's just, for right now, we'll just all stay on the sideline of neutral bearish market. We're just kind of counterbalancing things when and where we can. And eventually, one of these bounces will turn into a reversal that turns into a swing long, right? But we don't know for sure when that's going to truly be. Um, so we just kind of stay with that narrative, right? When we go back to a swing long, we can be more aggressive, or when the volatility index tells us to be more aggressive on a long, we can do that, right? Or when the market in turn tells us to be more aggressive long, we can do that. So this is just a lackluster bounce, still in a neutral to sell signal market. I'm gonna keep flipping through some of these stonks. Now you guys can't see these, they're on another screen, but don't worry. I'm only gonna if I like something, I'll mention it. Or if I think there's low risk on it, I'll mention it. But I mean, any one of these ones I'm looking at, like, there's always like it could, but actually this one, well, actually I looked at this the other BK. Was that last night? Yeah, I mean that one, maybe. I don't know. I kind of want to just because. Kind of late to it though, but because I'm stupid, I'll still buy a little bit for fun. I'm gonna buy a very small amount of BKYI, just because it has volume. It looks okay. It's probably I'm super late, so I'm just gonna buy a small amount. And if it turns into something cool, great. If not, I'm not gonna. It doesn't really matter. But Yeah, BKYI, it basically started an uptrend today. It's got a lot of volume. If the market wants to manipulate that stock, awesome, we'll win. If they don't, we won't. But that's pretty much it. So, as long as the market on BKYI stays over the price of 70 cents to, 79 cents, then it's fine. If you start getting below that, we basically are, going back into a downtrend. So, the problem with the entry that even I just took is that it's late. But so what's the risk? Yeah, see, like that's what I'm saying. I took a very, very small play, right? The risk is like 32% down, right? So, like for example, let's say it just falls apart and wanted to go back test its uptrends, it'd be a 32% downside, right? So knowing that I can't buy a lot, I can buy just a fun starter play size so that if, the people that manipulate stock markets want to take this one higher, then cool. You know. And if not, then, I have 32% downside risk if I want to hold it all the way to support to see if maybe it still holds support and then turns into like a swing play, right? So we'll see. I don't really care if it wins or loses. I don't have a ton of money on it. But like I said, it's getting bought up with volume. But let me bring that up. I don't even know if I showed you it. I was just looking on the other screen, maybe. So this is it. I mean, it's really straightforward. There's not a whole lot to say. I just look at the 30-minute chart. I know where the uptrend starts. The uptrend starts over that trend line, right? Granted, the breakout happened in the pre-market session, so you're not seeing the price action through these lines unless you go into a pre-market. And then I also like to look at where am I at? Where is this? Oh, down here. Yeah, this chart down here, that's the 4 hour. So I'm basically just overlap the 30-minute and the 4 hour there. And I know that's pretty much where algorithmic shifts happen in the market for every single stock in all markets. Um, Whether or not it's tradable is a different story because sometimes, computers just move these things so fast. But ultimately, above the 30-minute regular trading hours is going to be that inflection point for algorithms. Also, the 4 hour regular or 4 hour extended 50 SMA tends to be a nice inflection point. So, just basically between those two moving averages, you can find the algorithmic shift point of the market for pretty much everything, whether it be S&P 500, QQQ, Dow Jones, penny stocks, regular stocks, futures. Um, Bitcoin actually, I mean, it works, but not really good. So maybe not Bitcoin. But so, anyways, that's the inflection point. That's where markets like to manipulate themselves if they can. So, when you kind of take a look at it from this chart here now, you can kind of see it, right? So every morning when penny stocks break out, it's because A, someone's manipulating them and sending off buy algorithms on them, but B, they're flipping them into uptrends over the inflection points, which would be one, the 30-minute, and then two, the 4 hour. So essentially, we'd see this as that's a breakout uptrend start, right? And then this is pulling back to the 4 hour and or 30-minute. And as long as you're basically maintaining one of those two price points, whether exactly or just in general, then you have an uptrend holding, right? And so we've effectively, if we think about and then now you can view that as WW patterns, right? So a lot of people look at WW patterns, which are totally legit. WW patterns are basically uptrend structure changes. So if we were to just go back a little bit, let's actually see. So obviously it would appear that BKYI has gone up. Not my intention that quickly, but made about 10% on that so far. So that's cool. Not bad. Um, what was I gonna say? Oh yeah, 10-day, 30-minute. We'll do it kind of like that. So, you know, i- and actually that's maybe not the best view to look at for the time being. Maybe let's do like a 5 day, whatever. I mean, either way, it's the same thing, but so you can just think of this as, WW play is when structure changes. So you're going down and then you pop up, like that, and then you put in a higher low and then an uptrend starts, right? So the 30-minute and the 4 hour as it relates to penny stocks, pennies, 4 hour, 30-minute everything, but penny stocks like the 4 hour too. But ultimately, this is your move down. Okay. This is your spike up above the 30-minute and the 4 hour. That's your structure change. And then this is your back test, and that's your WW. And now that's your long, right? And now you have, or let's just say, those that manipulate markets and send off buy algorithms from the back test, and then also the people that are more in the know, that bought that dip and are still holding, could be up as upwards of 73% this morning from the back test of the uptrend start. Okay. So, BKYI today has been a great player. It's been a really good stock. It's been manipulated pretty good. We'd have to, give praise and cheers to the stock market controllers today. They've done a good job on this one, so we applaud them. We thank them, and that's pretty much it. All right. So, cheers to that. Um, yeah, so that one's that one. And then there was another one today too that I liked. I think it was HLLY. I'm not looking at the market right now, sorry, because I'm kind of going over this, but um, HLLY. So this was another one. You can already see I have it mapped off. So I was kind of considering this one today, and it was just a matter of I didn't really follow it once the market opened. I was kind of focused on the SPY, but I was thinking about buying this one today. Never pulled the trigger. It was kind of the one where it's like, it's just it was close, but it just didn't quite meet the requirements for me. And when something doesn't meet the requirements, it doesn't mean it's not going to be good, and it doesn't mean it won't play good. It just didn't quite trigger it for me. So if we kind of take a peek at this one, I'm going to map off both of the levels. So I'm mapped off both the 30-minute and the 4 hour, and let's go into this pre-market chart. So if we look at this one, now this is an earnings play. So obviously earnings creates volatility, whatever. But we know the inflection point and the structure change point and what price point that's at and how market makers are going to have to readjust their books, if you will. Because the market was structured this way, and then with the earnings and the break above the 30 and the 4 minute, we're changing that market structure and the dynamic into an uptrend. So this would be your downward, then your spike up. That would be arguably your WW start. This would be your back test, which never quite gets back to support. It got supported here. It could be another moving average that I don't use. It could be a Fibonacci, whatever. There could be a million reasons why. But if we take it to a generalization, it's just simply the market went into an uptrend off earnings and it pretty much back tested down to support. And the uptrend has stayed true today, and that has allowed for, about a 20% gain, 23% gain from that low point. All right, so that was another one I thought about today, but it just never back tested support. So this is always what you kind of run into is that if you have a move and the market's bouncing up pretty good here, I'm going to change over to the market here in just a sec. So let me delete that trend line. So basically what I'm getting at here is why didn't I pick this one today and why didn't I jump in on it? Because number one, when I saw it, we had already kind of done this pullback. So we already did that initial pullback. I think we were somewhere like right here. So I'm like, I'm a little late, right? But I could. Now, if I'm late and I'm wrong, what's the risk? Because it could just fall apart. So the risk was 13% at the time I was looking at it. And I know that it was no longer the first pullback and back test. So now I'm buying in the hopes of true continuation, right? Because I don't have the first pullback to back test support strategy in my favor anymore. That's already happened. So that isn't of use, right? Now it's where are we at? Where can we go? And where, now it's, well, if we don't continue and they decide that they don't want to run the markets higher and this is a bad uptrend and a false uptrend, then arguably the market will reset itself back to here, if not lower, right? So that's 13%. So it was just something I looked at this morning and just did not quite feel comfortable with the risk to my reward and the strategies that have already happened and how I would involve myself on that today. It just didn't seem like it just wasn't my candidate. Granted, it still worked. So in terms of focusing my energy on something, my energy was focused in the right place, at least for this stock. It's worked. It's doing okay. So I was still looking at something that turned out to have good value, but my timing was a little off, right? So we're still focusing in the right place. Timing by the time I got to it just wasn't right this morning. So I just had to step back from that one. So that's all the stonks that I was looking at. BKYI going up a little bit more. Yippee! And actually, you know what? I should probably take a deeper dive on that to make sure I'm not missing a little bit of something. Because once it starts working, then you got to kind of go, well, where could it go? What might it do? And I didn't really put thought into that yet. And it all really comes down to is there a longer term trend that we're going to run into? On the 50 SMA, no. There could be other moving averages that I'm not looking at, but let's take a peek at something else here. I'm sorry if you guys want to be looking at the markets right now. I know that I'm not doing that, so my bad, but one second. Took a little money there on BKYI. I mean, obviously, as this thing's going up, I'm closing and making sure I take money because again, it's a freaking penny stock. I'm not stupid. Okay, I'm stupid sometimes. But let's see. Where am I going to? What am I doing? Yeah, I wanted to check the standard deviation on BKYI. So now I'm just kind of going in and I'm looking at, holy cow, thanks, Ingrid. So I'm looking at the standard deviation. So we're at +2 on the 1 minute. So, it's a little overvalued on the 1 minute, 5 minutes broken out. On the daily chart, we're getting 2 + 2. So we're a little overbought in that regards. We're getting to the +3 +4 on the 4 hour. So that's a little dangerous as it relates to the 4 hour. So we've taken the BKYI market into some overbought locations, so obviously, do with that information what you will, but I'll just show you real quick. So if we look at BKYI, we've ran it up into the +3 +4 there. So the 6 month probability channel's a little overbought there. We're getting into the +2 daily. That's a little overbought, not on the extreme, but well, in reality, it's kind of extreme, but when it comes to penny stocks, I mean, it's not really extreme, right? But it's decent. Looking at the weekly chart, hell, I'm not even gonna go try and look at that. I'd have to zoom in and do all sorts of stuff for my chart. So that's all. That's all we got there for the old BK Burger King, for the old Burger Daddy. That's all we got, folks. All right, moving back to the market. I'm gonna clean this chart up a little bit. Because yeah. Actually, we need to take this guy and go to that low. I'm gonna look for some pullbacks into that. We have a candle there that kind of breaks a little structure like that. And then we got this previous dip, so the market's pulling back to that right now. Yeah. Oh, yeah, by the way, so you see how we're talking about we need the Magnificent Seven to wake up and then we'll have a stronger bounce, if you will. Granted, the bounce doesn't look crazy, but you see how we kind of ran this market up right there. So that's just a lot of that's the participation from the Magnificent Seven waking up. So the Mag 7 woke up over these past 10, 15 minutes while we're kind of looking at some penny stocks, and that's essentially allowing this market to bounce up a little bit more there. So cool stuff, basic, pretty much. I'm gonna call it basic, but All right, let me check my 30 minute. We haven't retraced that guy, but we did balance the 30 minute there. We balanced the 5 minute. I don't have a 10 minute. Get out of there, champ. 15 minutes balanced. So all fibs up have been balanced. This 15 minute on the downside is not balanced now. So that golden pocket's going to need addressing at some point. Delete this guy off there. I'm going to take off this older one. So this 5 minute fib is probably balancing right now. So we just balanced that 5 minutes. So the 5 minute fib there is done. And then that would mean the next one on deck would be here, which would be just below, which is going to correlate with the 15. All right. So these are all big areas, big value areas right in that area. So again, this market may need to pull back down here a little more, go get some of the VWAPs, some of the golden pockets that are untested on the downside, so the energy of the market balance itself. These are never guarantees, guys. It's just, These are things the market tries to do and wants to do. It doesn't have to, obviously, but you get the point. So we essentially kind of hit sort of that top zone of the VWAP, right? So if we're looking at this, the volume weighted average price of the longs off the bottom, this would be that 1 minute trend start, right? So we're kind of, you pull the market down, and whenever you're pulling into VWAP, so you can see that kind of opposite reactionary move in an attempt to hold support, right? And KODK did pretty good today. Hmm. I was gonna say the tick charts just went down to oversold there too. It's kind of interesting. So it's debatable whether or not, let's see, is there any structure change though? Yeah, I was trying to read this tick and debate whether or not we have institutions trying to buy this dip. It kind of looks like that. It kind of looks like institutions are still supporting this dip right now. Because again, the tick chart went to an entry and the tick C went to an entry there. And we're pulling back into that VWAP. So it just didn't really look like we were trying to do like a two-step breakdown there because of the ticks and the tick C. It looked like accumulation via institutional trading on this dip. See that? So look, like, let me show you real quick. All right, real quick. So basically look at that candle. And you will look in here on the tick C. So the ticks and the tick C I have mapped off here. So pretty much these are my overbought, oversold, the yellows, right? So, and again, these things are, it's not like, this is very high frequency stuff, if you will. And it takes a while to really learn this. And I've only looked at it for a week, but it didn't take me very long with all the stuff I know. And I'm only going to get better at it. But, we basically took tick C into a dip buy location, basically took the tick chart, or well, yeah, the tick market down into an entry location. Um, you know what I mean? So basically on that last dip, not only did the price action pull back, but the metrics of the tick charts pulled back accordingly, right? So it's not like we pulled the market back on a dip, but then the tick charts did not align for a long entry. We pulled the market back there, and then the tick charts also aligned for low risk kind of little dip buys there. And so I would also accumulate a portion of that to this little bounce we're seeing in this last 1 minute dip. And we've kind of we balanced one of the 5 minute fibs there, and we pulled the market down here into some of these VWAPs, well, one top side, etc. But like we said, so what are we getting though, right? So we have seen what? We've seen the market do a trade of hands a little bit. So we have stopped going long S&P issues. We have stopped pushing the markets long on the New York Stock Exchange. And the only thing that's really helping the market right now is the Magnificent Seven. So this pretty much tells us now that if the Magnificent Seven don't perform, the market's going to slow on this top. And you see how we're starting to come down now too. So the tick chart here, if you look, we took the tick chart to overbought, and now, yeah, hold on. Now we see we're pulling this. Again, these tick charts are awesome when you kind of start to really understand what they're trying to do. So we just took that little 1 minute bounce back up to overbought, and now it's back down to oversold. Oh, it's funny. It's good stuff. So there would be the completion and the pullback of our 1 minute volume weighted average price from the low of day. All right, so this is that 1 minute over under. This is where the market needs to kind of support itself, where we start kind of getting into that, are the longs on the bottom of the day going to get nervous and start stopping themselves out? See, like on the tick C chart right now, we just took the market into an oversold spot, but the tick chart is not. So we don't have confluence there. So to me, it's kind of like a false dip right now, right? Like not a true little bottom, kind of sketchy still because we don't have confluence on this dip yet fully. All right. So it's more of lackluster dip for the moment, unless we had tick C and tick lining up along with some buying pressure across some of these other equities, and we don't have it for the moment. Busy day here in the YouTube chat. Busy day. I'm sure, yeah, beginners would absolutely hate to learn these things. This is the worst thing for beginners to learn, right? Terrible. You don't want to learn this. And you'd actually know kind of what's going on. 1 minute VWAP support trend held. Let's see, what do we got? VIX is still pulling back, so we got, slightly decreasing volatility in the market. Nothing crazy, nothing insane. But it's nice to see, you know. But that is something we really want to see over the next couple days or whatever. Hopefully, we'll see. Hopefully we see a breakdown in both volatility and VVIX. That would be sweet. Probably asking for a bit much. Well, I guess while we're just kind of sitting hanging out, how's everyone's day going? You guys having a good day? You guys got anything good planned for the weekend? Or are you just gonna sit in your basement with all the lights turned off, staring at the Bitcoin chart and crying because it's going down? I'm just kidding. Another little dip bot there on the Mag 7. I've been working hard lately. I think I should take some time and go play some golf today. Indoors, that is, not outside. It's too cold for that now. Oh, TradingView's starting to do its thing where it's just slower than crap. Hmm, that's interesting. Here's another good example. Not that I necessarily think this is great, but if we look at CGC, take a look at this guy. This is a perfect example of how something terrible, what it's still like you can see how the system works, right? So if we go look here, so here's our 30-minute right there, and we're gonna bring up the 4 hour too, 184. Oh, we're well below that. Never mind. Actually, it might have been used as resistance. So yeah, let's still map it off though. So that's the 4 hour. So there's a good chance that this stock even broke up into $1.30, had resistance around there, and then pulled back. But so if we go look at the pre-market, where's it? Perfect. Look at that. So you see that? So this is what we would call the 30-minute breakout transition to 4 hour, then 4 hour resistance back down to 30-minute. Then where's the bounce, right? At the 30-minute as the market tries to do its best at maintaining support, right? And if you think about it from the breakout, it never had a back test. So this is that first back test, right? And it's trying its darndest to hold that support. But if we take a step back, let's look at this 4 hour chart because it's very important. If we look at the 4 hour chart, where did I do it? Right here. So if we look at this 4 hour chart, not only there, but on the regular trading hours, right? You can see what? The 4 hours in a downtrend. Right, so 4 hours in a downtrend, right? So we know that the 4 hour doesn't go positive unless it gets back over what, $1.33. And it just so happens that today, when you look at the pre-market setup on on the stock, what do you have? You have resistance right at the 4 hour. So this top right here is what I would call the 4 hour downtrend holding resistance. So this is just the market had a nice bounce, retraced all the way to the 4 hour, and 4 hour said, no, we're just going to stay down. So it used a smaller time frame, like the 30-minute, to flip the markets long in the short term to back test the longer term downtrend. So that's what we saw today there on that one. So another interesting, facade to the system. A busy, busy day here. Busy day in the old streams. hmm Man, I cannot wait for the day that we get some change in the volatility index. That's gonna make for a nice long. We're just waiting on that signal, and then we're gonna hit the gas pedal, and then we're gonna laugh because then everyone's gonna not know why the market's bouncing like crazy, and then we're gonna just be like, "Oh, watch this! The news is gonna change positive." Speaking of, we should probably take a look at the news today just so we can give ourselves the good old giggle. Let's see. Google stock market news today. There's a bunch of news down here, but I'm not really looking at that for the moment. What do we have? Stock market today. Dow falter in bid to recover from tech-led sell-off. So Yahoo markets are scary. Ooh, me so scared. Stock market today. Dow, S&P, Nasdaq open down. Tesla, Nvidia expected something. I don't know. Are they giving earnings? I don't even know. Stock market today. Dow drops 150 points. Tesla stock price drops. Ooh, me so scared. Stock market today. S&P 500, Nasdaq fall with tech on track for worst week since who gives a crap. Stock market today, Dow, Nasdaq fall with Nvidia sliding on AI chip news. Sure, bud, sure. Stock slide with tech weak again. Nasdaq heads for big weekly loss. Oh my gosh, the world is ending. No, it's pretty simple, guys. We're just in a current controlled market selling operation. When those, us, we as a collective finish and are happy with our current selling operation, the market will go back long. It's just a matter of when, and we will be here for the when. The one thing we don't know for certain right now is what the stock market will spew for news as to why we are going up. So just remember, we're in a current selling program. When we finish this program, we will then go back to longs. And when we go back to longs, the news will probably say stocks recover, NASDAQ Dow up on new AI chip news. Or stocks put on big gains with tech leading the way on the recovery. Or inflation numbers come out better than expected, the market recovers and boosts. So again, we already know typically, generally, what sort of news will be pushed to the market. It's really not that hard to figure out. There's only so much they can talk about. And it's either going to range from geopolitical to market technicals, earnings, economic data, etc. Right? There's only a handful of stories they can categories of story writing that they can pick from, right? There's only so many tricks in their hat, and it's not very they're not very extensive. It's either going to be a form of earnings, economic data, geopolitical tension, China, Russia, et cetera, right? Now, there's many that they could throw at you, but when you think about it, it's really, well, it took me a long time to figure it out, but when you think about it like that, it's not that many things they can tell you, right? So, we can just basically expect that's what the news will be during our buy signal. So yeah, you know, just think every time we do this, it's just a program we're going through. We just got to get through the program, through the algorithm, whether that's one algorithm, which it's not, whether it's multiple algorithms that sell the market, which it is, whether it's a bunch of banks, hedge funds, or some dude that's wearing a black robe in sweatpants in his house streaming to five people on YouTube. That's me, right? When we feel and when we see and when we look at the system, right, we listen to the system. When the system tells us that the algorithms and the programs are no longer selling, we will then go back long, right? So we're currently just in the phase of let the market sell, let it do its program, trade it however you want, right? But when this program finishes, we will then go back to longs, right? And then you can trade that however you want, whether you want to buy it, swing it, buy it, trade it, whatever, right? We're just currently in the selling program. Don't be scared, nothing to be scared about. The sun will shine tomorrow and the food will probably still taste as good as it did today as it did yesterday, right? So be happy. Nothing to be fearful of. Don't scare yourself about sliding AI chip news. The only thing you should be scaring yourself about is that big old bag of chips that you ate before bed last night, not this AI chip news. All right, I'd be more fearful of the Doritos than this Investor Business Daily News article about AI chips, okay? So, everything's good, guys. Everything's where the market should be. This is all normal. This is all basically to be expected. We're in a selling program. We always anticipated leading into 2026 we were going to see a market correction, a bear market, you know. So again, this is all kind of working the way I think it should. I don't think there's anything that's happening in our markets that is on normal, you know. So let's just get through the current selling program and then we'll get back to doing business on the longs. There is nothing to be scared about. Nothing. But yeah, so my next targets for Bitcoin down are kind of challenging for me to get. When I say challenging, it's just they're not the typical like targets I would typically like to use in the sense of how I'm deriving the targets. But my next targets down are 95,000 to 89,000, which I mean, it's kind of silly saying it's like, duh, if the market goes down, then clearly the price would obviously eventually hit. But it's more of like structure and zoning, right? We sold to, the 100K mark. That's the 20% decline. So you kind of have the plunge protection Bitcoin team coming in to try to support the 100K mark. I personally don't have anything at 100K that is deemed as a, maybe that's not true. There might be a couple things there, but I don't think there's really anything too big around the 100K mark that deems it as a great support. I think it's just people living up to the herd mentality of psychological number support, and they're doing their job perfectly, coming in at 100, bouncing it, etc. I think ultimately eventually we'll break that down. And when we do, we're going to go to, the next kind of phase would be like 95,000 to 90,000 or so. Um, Now our targets for the Bitcoin bounce right now are still the same as they've always been. It's the daily volume weighted average price of our most recent. Well, actually, it might have changed because there's a false bounce in there. So we have two upside target destinations now. Hold on, something's off. Yeah. So this is our like secondary zone now. So pretty much all of this whole entire box is a target for us now. And it's kind of soon to do this, but if this ends up, so for example, if we hold this bottom, right? If we actually hold this bottom, then that's arguably our target, okay? If this bottom drops out, we will then be targeting still to here, but later. Then the bounce will be targeting back to these volume weighted average prices, like right here where I'm going to put this line, right? So it depends on whether or not the dip buyers at 100K were legit. And if so, we're going to rally a bounce back to like this zone. If they're not strong enough, then this becomes a new lower high. Therefore, we need to start anchors from here because like so again if we break down then this becomes a new valid anchor spot. Not that the ones above aren't valid, we've just kind of created a new start point for anchors along that move down, and it's going to be on the top of this little pullback in there. So if that's a false bottom and it breaks out, then that's theoretically just continuation down and lower high down. We'll then anchor, track the volume weighted average price of this new sell move, and then that will become the counter trend bounce target next. That and arguably, right, if we sell, right, so for example, let's say we sell all the way down to 95,000, where I expect one of our sell moves is going to go, and then we have a potential support there. If we do that, right, then maybe this is where the bounce happens, right? And then where does that bounce go? Arguably back to the VWAPs that we anchored to that high. And that's how we'll create this bounce and the next lower high potential, right? If we don't do that, then we're arguably looking at doing that to these VWAPs, right? So we got a little time for some of those things to play out, but they will play out. It's not a matter of if they will or not, they're going to. Just a matter of the whens and waiting and letting it happen kind of thing. So for me, it's, I don't want anything to do with Bitcoin here for trades. My interest of trades would be up here or maybe off that, maybe off this, or I think I have another level in here somewhere, maybe off those. So it's like any one of these points would be like interesting trade levels up here, midway, and on the top. Those would all be interesting micro starts to Bitcoin for trades, but I don't care about this because I myself am like, well, I can see it myself. It's like, well, I mean, if we hold the bottom, we can go back to here. If we don't, we could go to here. So do I want to buy that or do I want to short that? No, we're kind of like the midway point of where we could go. It's not really, it's kind of one of those things like, I mean, be my guess, whoever wants to run it down can run it down, and if they want to push it back up, they can push it back up. But we're not at kind of start points for me. We're at, either it continues or it doesn't. Kind of like the HLLY stock today that I thought about buying and never bought. I was like, well, we're kind of like already started the move. There's kind of some risk back to where it can go. Maybe it continues. I would just have to hope it continues, right? And so I don't have that kind of favorable spot to be involving myself on any sort of short-term Bitcoin trade there. So we're just gonna let it do what it do. We just gonna let it do what it do. Tired. I feel like this has been a really long morning already. I guess when you don't shut up for 2 hours, it probably is long. Oh my gosh, guys, did you guys notice that the stock market's going down? That's crazy. Like, who would have thought it would be going down, right? Now, you guys already know if it's going down, what's happening. Magnificent Seven probably going down. S&P issues probably going down. Advancing declining issues of the market probably going down. Volume of the market probably going down. Is that happening? Let's check. Yes, all of what I said is happening. Okay. So, is what's happening in the market, does it make sense? Are things diverging? Is the market being manipulated? Well, it's always being manipulated, but it makes perfect sense, right? It's not like some scummy move that doesn't make sense. No, this makes perfect sense. The markets are going down, equities are being sold off still, etc. Perfect sense. Nothing is out of order. Market is as it should be. What would not make sense is if the market was just getting bought up into a long right now while everything in the market is going down. That would be a real big head scratcher. That would be, okay, this makes zero sense. I don't even know why I'm looking at any of this shit if it's not going to work. You know what I mean? So, everything makes great sense this morning. There's nothing out of order. We've had a nice little seller magoo. Whoa. Wow, wow, wee, wow. Wow, wow, wee, wow. Wow, wow, wee, wow. Ooh. It's a weekly volume weighted average price right there. This one is right down there. We're definitely coming into some biggies as a weekly. I wish I would have known that earlier. Kind of missed that one. I would have bought that dip a little bit more aggressively if I would have known. But if you break down a weekly VWAP and you stay below the weekly VWAP, then you would transition to the next weekly VWAP. That's only if the market is cool. So, in the off chance the market is actually cool, there's the potential for the market to trade all the way down to 66171. But that's only if the market's cool. Probably is going to be lame and not do that, but you never know. So in the event the market actually is cool, we gonna do that. So this would be the best case scenario short based off of weekly VWAP to weekly VWAP, which means it's probably not going to work because the market always loves to not do what you want when you want. But yeah, so we would basically need a true weekly volume weighted average price breakdown, and then the market would arguably transition all the way down to like 66171. So what's going to happen is the market's going to come right back up to the weekly VWAP. That's why that's priced like that. So that would be risk right to there, and then you're pretty much already getting stopped out. You know what I mean? So, like I said, it's just too early. Probably it's not quite. It's like one candle break, etc. Little Bitcoin, little shit coin, a little. Let's see, what do we got on this SPX? Do 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 do. Ooh, SPX just hit its weekly 50 as a meaty. See, that's where it's turning into a little snafu. I mean, it would be sick to see the market get spanked all the way down to 66175. We'll just see. You never know. Ken, you don't control the market. You just gotta let the market hopefully do what it do. But yeah, best case scenario, like on this, well, best case scenario that I could see for like shorts and some strategies that I would look at would be a weekly VWAP to weekly VWAP. That is something that, yeah, something can happen. Just haven't really had the opportunity to see it in a while like this because you need to be in a downtrend for this scenario, right? For it to go weekly VWAP to weekly VWAP, you pretty much have to be in a downtrend, like we have now. So this basically becomes the risk now over that candle high. And obviously for such a move like that to happen, pretty much we would need the Magnificent Seven to continue selling off. More, maybe some more participation for some other markets, actually sell off. The only way, the only way probably you'll get the market to do that in the first place. You probably need and you need the VIX to kind of keep getting gassed up, which right now the VIX is currently positive on the 1 minute. So, we'll see. I mean, I'd love to see a good old spanker Magoo all the way down to 66171. Looks like the Mag 7 put in a fresh little low there. Extensions for that to go down to 10. Das gut. Das gut. Ooh, that's interesting. We just put in oh, that's UPRO. I'm like, huh. Yeah, sorry, I know I'm not really saying a whole lot right now. I'm just kind of, using my brain power, if you will. I mean, we don't, yeah, I mean, so far, I mean, I would still say there's weakness in the market. I mean, we're trading on the vol -3, like 300 million or so. That's where obviously you'd say to yourself that the volume is obviously there's more selling pressure in the stocks than there is buying. The advancing declining issues are still around the -300. Tesla Magnificent Seven stuff down. S&P issues down. So we still have like weakness there. It doesn't mean that the market has to just like go down immediately. I'm just saying there isn't, we don't have like extreme buying pressure or anything like that happening. Come on, baby. So do something cool. Just sell all the way off to our weekly sell target down there, and then we can go long, or else we're just gonna see this do the old scummy bottom. But yeah, that would be sick to see us get spanked all the way down. Then we go back long. So everyone's going to be mad because then it goes down. And then we'd have a nice long. That would be cool. What were we trying to do? Did I say 66171? I did. Yeah. 66171 or failure. That's it. So that's how I reads the market. We're either going down to 66171 or we're gonna eventually have to go back and back test 66448, but we don't want that because that would be more lame. We'd rather see the market get sauced and tossed down. So, this would be cool. Back there would be lame. So if there's any market makers listening to our YouTube channel that have enough control, how about you guys just take it all the way down? Because then it would be more fun. But if you like to look at dudes showering, then backtest the market. So if there's any market makers in here, just know if you take it down, you're cool. But if you backtest, then you like to watch dudes in the shower. So it's up to you. It's not up to me, right? So just saying, it'll be a strong tell. Whatever happens here, it's a strong tell what you like. So who are you? Are you the cool market maker or are you the market maker that likes to watch dudes in the shower? I don't know. That's all I'm saying. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Oh, come on already. Like, let's go, dude. Like, we literally do not have all day. We have like an hour. What time is it? 10. I have a minute. I have 1 minute. Let's go, market. Come on. Let's go, little guy. Hit it with the quick old spanker Magoo. Let's go. Do something cool. I mean, everything in the market's still going down. Whoever buys this dip is just silly, unless it ends up being awesome. But why would it go up? Everything's going down. Kind of. Actually, the Mag 7 stopped going down. They're doing a little hesitation pause or Magoo. Okay, there's something cool. Come on, like you can do it. Like just give it the old quick little shake and bake, Ricky Bobby. Come on. Again, volume on the market down, everything down. So it probably goes up. But I mean, no, it's just guys. You can see it. Like this. Is what I'm trying to show you. See how all of a sudden we're going down, and it's like, oh, just kidding. Look what happened. You just started printing green on your Magnificent Seven. So whoever, whatever, just bought, a couple of those stocks, whatever. If you want to, who knows? Maybe they went to a supply. I don't know, right? But that little green blip on the Magnificent Seven is pretty much what just caused this little green candle there. So it's like. When you're watching things go down, you know that they all have to keep moving in a fluid motion to make that downward move easier, right? So what do we have? We just had hesitation on the Magnet 7. But if you look, everything else is doing fine, right? There's red candles on the vol, red candles on the SPY, well, little green now, red here, so red, 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 but then little green. So just the Magnificent Seven stopped this market from going down over the last 2 minutes. So probably that market maker though. I likes to watch sweaty dudes. What do you mean? Yeah, market maker is a strong word. That's why I'm using it. You know what I'm saying? That's what I'm saying. Like, like whoever the market makers are, you know what I'm saying? Like, we want them to do what's cool, which would be go down to 66171, not go, back test to 66445. So, what's probably going to happen? Sweaty dudes. Hey, they started printing red on the Magnificent Seven again, and look at that. The market prints a red candle. Question remains. What's the volatility index doing? Nothing, really nothing. Nothing crazy. Yeah, the tick charts were just in kind of like a little long dip spot. Not that that's anything special. Mm, 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 mm. Oh, we are crushing here today, folks. YouTube absolutely loves us. Rock on, baby. Mm, 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 mm. Well, I'm assuming one would think that this little pullback is going to get, yep, sold into pretty soon. I want to say because there's really no one, no, not no one, but that Magnificent Seven was still kind of trailing down there. So it's like, how's the market going to go up if those boys are still printing red? Yep. And there goes the marquee. Still getting sold. Yeah, not really, but yeah, pretty slow. What do you expect? Kind of a Friday, 11 o'clock. Market's going down. Everyone's probably pissed off and mad. You know what I mean? Ooh, nice little pumper Magoo there. No, not really. It's like literally one candle popping up. Everyone be careful. We might get the old slippy and slideys. You might get slippied, you might get slided. That candle got sold super fast on the cues there. Right after that pop-up, it was just instantly sold down. Interesting. Oh, the slippy. Oh no, it's slipping. It is slippy. Oh no. Me so scared. Why is market go down? He said no one understand. Why? Why so much pain? Because we're in the sell signal, folks, and there's literally not one single thing in the stock market that's really bullish right now. Besides some other YouTuber on the internet telling you to buy dips right now. Me love to stand and watch knives fall on my head, and then I try to catch them while I have olive oil on my hands. Oh no, what's gonna happen, guys? The market's getting a little scary. Everyone's panicking. I wonder why. It should be, but this is so scared. I should probably go get a. I probably don't need more coffee. I'm probably just getting slap happy from staring at a screen and candlesticks for 5 hours already. It's getting a little crazy. Okay, so that was down to ye old dippy. Damn and a half. Mhm. That what I'm talking about there, player. That what I'm talking about there, pimpin'. Oh no, the market's going down. We're all so scared. I am just absolutely panicking. I am so fearful. I don't know what to do. Yes, I do. I'm gonna go get some coffee. I'll be back. Oh my gosh. What the heck happened today? Who who's killing the market? Gosh darn it. It must be that AI chip news, dude. Stupid AI. Why you gotta ruin the market? Ugh. It's just so sad, you know? Like what the heck? Why they gotta do that to us? Guess we're just gonna have to. I don't know what we're gonna do, guys. I'm just so flabbergasted over here. I can assure you this is the most non-beginner friendly stream you've ever seen. We just use arrows and that's it. We just point to where markets can go. That's it. We are very, very complicated here, you could say. Oh, by the way, I just want to let you guys know we made the communities page open to everyone on our website, so it's not anything you got to pay for. You can just go and read all the posts or trade ideas that we post there whenever you want. Um, and then what else was I gonna say? Yeah, you can pretty much see all of the trade ideas or anything our community may be talking about there. It's kind of slow, but we're building it now. But and then if you want to post yourself, you just have to create an account. But we're trying to create a nice little free ecosystem on our website that people can use. You know, it's kind of similar to a Discord. Doesn't work exactly like Discord, but I figured it'd be nice to give people an area to hang out and basically learn cool stuff for free, essentially. Um, so yeah, if you want to use it, feel free. I know there's only three of you guys in here, and pretty much all of you guys probably already are part of our systems and groups. So, um, yeah. Okay. Actually, I should probably throw our other arrow on there too, which is always going to be the back test of that guy. Granted, we'd have to really start trading upwards for that to happen, and momentum would have to build, and we don't really have a lot of momentum in the market right now. So, not currently thinking that for the second. We don't even have a higher low off this bottom. Granted, the 1 minute chart did just maybe change structure there. Take a look at the tick. Did we just go to, whoa. So the tick is actually overbought now. Tick C is overbought, but tick's not. So the execution really isn't short. When I say that, that means like very, very micro. I would say because you don't have the tick chart also overbought. It's only tick C. So if it was really like an overbought, you kind of want to see both there. Again, it's not a guaranteed thing, but anyways, let's also add our volume weighted average price on this low because that's pretty much where we would expect markets to pull back once they kind of see some weakness on this long. Yeah, let me make sure that's clear. So now that we've broken 1 minute chart structure, we may be looking at, pullbacks and dips built around that 1 minute VWAP, arguably. So arguably pulls down to that 1 minute VWAP. All right. So like I said, so if you're reading the tick C over here, so this kind of bounce right now kind of seems like, at least in the short term, there's a little bit more accumulation on the long because it looks like the institutional tick chart is getting bought up, but the execution, if you will, I mean that's the way I interpret it, execution chart was not overbought. So it's kind of like, there's like continuation in this. But we are starting to get close to overbought on the tick chart here. So, again, we might be seeing a little bit of a pullback soon if we get that tick chart to stop. And if we do end up, again, like I said, pulling this market even a little bit, we would normally be looking down to the 1 minute VWAP structure on the low. Um, that is too. I mean, there's a little false red candle there, so that's another level that you'd watch in between that to like right there. Now, you can also see you got a little bit of bouncing going on the Magnificent Seven there. You got some bouncing on the vault. So it's like you've had a little bit of a change in some of the market there on this bounce. I'm not gonna say it's a massive change. It's a little. Oh, so our targets for the pullback here are still the same, that 1 minute volume weighted average price or the ones below. Obviously, if the market pulls back, that's where we would target to. We still have a little bit of kind of green candles here on the Magnificent Seven. Um, yeah, I mean, advancing declining issues are still fine. All right, a little red there. So we'll see if we get these pullback targets here, or if we're just going to kind of keep grinding out this long. It depends on what these Magnificent Seven do. And we're also watching the tick charts here. Tick C is not quite into accumulation zone, and the tick's not into accumulation for long yet either. So we maybe need this to pull back a little more. Bang. There we go. Thank you, good sir. Thank you, market. And it's just like that. Voila, like a magic. All right, so you're starting to get the tick C. Nah, not quite oversold, close. So like right now you can see the tick C on the top is getting to the yellow. So like that's institutionals being okay with the pullback tap in there and the micros. Now the tick chart for triggers of long, not quite oversold yet, but you're kind of starting to see we're getting into like where we would cover that short maybe a little bit on the micros. Someone may be looking at longs, just depends, right? So you can kind of see how the market's starting to wick there a little bit. Not that that wick really means anything. It's just showing you in the real time, like what's happening from a cover on a short. Um, and so this is just very, I mean, this is micro stuff, but this is how you time entries to, on small things as well. Again, this is only something, I mean, I've always known of this, but I've never really learned how to truly apply it with systems that I like. So I just spent the time over this last few days looking at this stuff. I'm like tied it together into my systems, and I'm happy I did. It's definitely helping. So yeah. So right, so now you can kind of see how you're getting a little bit of a green candle there. Kind of, not like anything crazy, but now you can kind of see if you look at the tick chart, whereas it's almost down to that yellow, like this is kind of that oversold spot in terms of like immediate high, like momentum. Right. You can kind of see the tick C institutional accumulation tick is down towards like that support. And it's not that when these get there that the market has to stop and reverse or whatever, but you can kind of start to understand where some of that hesitation might come in immediately and so on and so forth, right? But it also plays a role to like what else do we see, right? You can look at the volume of the market here on the bottom one, right? That's going down, right? And I'll zoom in. So I'm like, so you got some red candles here. So red down, right? Tick red, this red. You have some green here, but you still have red up here. red here. So predominantly it's still like bearish, right? Even though we kind of just went through a little bit of a temporary bounce there. We're still in a, well, the macro market's still bearish. If you look at the market internals for the day, they went through a little bounce there, but you haven't really changed the trends or anything like that. Hey, six people watching. Let's go, baby. You never thought in your lifetime we would see six loving individuals just willing. That might even be me. I think I have my stream open up on another page, so that's also me. Appreciate you, five to six beautiful humans. Do 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 do. Ba 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 da 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 da. Wait a second. Something seems a little off. One second. New housing inspection on 1/7. Let's go. What is that? Dialogue on thank you for the team. Well, yeah, it's fixed now, Zillow. Because I fixed it. All right, so I got a question for you guys. Would you guys prefer my stream to stay like this, where, there's no camera? Or would you prefer that there's a camera on, but I'm shirtless? I mean, that's the only two options you get. I'm either shirtless or there's no camera. So there's no in between there. It's up to you guys. I'll let you decide. And I can't speak for myself, but I'll let you guys decide on that one. Hmm. What did I do that on? You know what the worst part about having a business and a personal, you have like freaking seven different emails and then you forget which you use sometimes. So then it's like your whole email jam becomes a huge job in itself. This was the one it should have been. Hmm. Ah, yeah, no, yeah, there's no, yeah, obviously shirtless. But if there's no tips, you're right. If there's no, it's all, I can't, can't be giving away my goods for free like that. All right. Let's see what Bitcoin's doing. Bitcoin is kind of bouncing. Um, that's cool. Again, we've already covered this, but we'll just do a quick little recap. We already know where Bitcoin is most likely going to go. That's what. So you either have, again, the retrace to volume weighted average prices on the high or eventual breakdown continuation of volume weighted average prices on the low, essentially. Which way is it going to go? I mean, I don't really care for the moment. Um, but yeah, things are getting a little dicey out there in the crypto world. Just don't, I think we might need to check in on the alt season coin bros pretty soon. Um, it must be getting tiresome. Screaming altcoin seasons around the corner. Okay, so let's see. The old tick accumulation bought up, but we don't have an overbought tick chart, so might be able to see a little continuation on this bounce here. I wonder. That's what I'm wondering if we're going to get a little continuation up on this bounce. Not maybe not a ton, but just the way the tick chart's set up, we might. I mean, we already got to the top down 1 minute. Not really. We're kind of coming into the target there, arguably, on the 1 minute. Yeah, it's kind of sketch actually. Yeah, so what I was getting ready to say is like we might have some continuation on that bounce, but then I was looking at the chart and I'm like, oh no, it's kind of sketch. And the reason it's sketch is because we already hit the top down 1 minute of the last leg, which I couldn't really see at the time. I mean, I did, but when I first started talking about that. So let me show you. So like for a second, I'm like, oh, this little mini bounce might have some continuation, right? And that's because I was thinking to myself, I'm like, have we met the resistance? So if we take the VWAPs off the high here on this last 1 minute leg, um, we were already hitting that. So like right when I was saying that, we were hitting it, and I didn't have these mapped off yet. And I'm like, actually, we might have already hit them. So that's what I was saying is I was thinking like these VWAPs might have been like up here or something, so that this bounce would continue up. But then I looked and we are right on them. So no. But anyways, yeah, that is that. Well, I think it's probably about time we end today's stream. It's been a good, nice 2 hour, 34-minute long stream of, I mean, I would say we did a good job at keeping everybody on the right side of the trend today. We said the market would probably be bearish. It was bearish. And when markets were bouncing, we let everyone know they were bouncing, but not with a ton of strength. Each bounce got sold into. We gave far downside destination targets, which haven't hit, but we've also given the failure targets, so we know probably what's going to happen anyways. Even if we don't go to the downside, we have the reversal back to this guy. So that's what I'm assuming is like that's what I'm kind of aiming for is either one of these two. We were trying to go down. Now we're putting in some like higher lows, so we might be trying to work up. So, and just kind of a, got to see how that all plays out. But yeah, I mean, I'd say overall it's been a pretty decent day. So I will let you guys go. Everyone have a great weekend, and I'll see you guys back on Monday morning. Um, cheers.